Hey folks, Kilt-Man here. Kilt-Man at your services. How are you all? I hope you're all doing very, very well. Now, I know I've been absent for, is it a week? Feels longer, to be honest. But I'll explain why in a bit. But first things first, I want to give a big shout out to a couple of great guys who've stuck with this channel since the very start. And I still can't shake them. Sir Trev Morris, the Marquis of Margate, and the heir to his throne, Prince Dean. Now these two, they're great friends of mine, but Sir Trev, the heroic Sir Trev, isn't feeling so great these days. But, you know, after a lifetime of more adventures than you or I will ever undertake, he's earned the right to put his feet up and be waited upon. That's where you come in, Dean. But you're doing a bang-up job. Said Trev, yeah. Now, Ray's got no whiskey in the hizzy, but I've got this, though, some Super Bock. Cheers, you all, to your ongoing health and ruthless adventures. Said Trev, even at his age, still manages to take his top off and pose for pictures, bare-chested. Even I don't do that anymore. No, I don't. No, ashamed of me little lily white boobage. No, not doing it. But said Trev doesn't care. So yeah, you rest up, take it easy. Don't worry about a thing. Deano can take care of it all. Anyway, folks, health, yeah. This is why you've not seen anything of me for the last few days. I think on the last video I mentioned, oh, I've got toothache. And I did touch the rogue area. And very tender it was too. Well, it turned out that it's either an abscess or an ulcer, but it's bloody big, whatever it is, and it's sitting on the gum, and it's still there, it's still painful. I will have to get something done about that. It won't just go away, as I kind of hoped it would do. But something else took me down. Reared its nasty little head. COVID. Yeah, COVID, that bloody thing. And apparently there's a very, very nasty strain of it going around. I know plenty of people have got it, not just around here, but all over the UK. And but it's not being reported upon. Well, they've now accepted it. It's just another bug. But it was such big news for such a long time. And this one is really super nasty. And we think that my daughter brought it into the house. And she's got off remarkably, scot-free, really. She has a cough though. Just that little dry, tickly cough. But I had everything else. The shivers, the shakes, pains, eyes stinging, jaws rattling, couldn't get warm, then I couldn't cool off, sweats, shivers, everything. Real ragged sore throat, bunged up nose, and then finally, as in the last couple of days, it's begun to sort of fall onto the chest. So, yeah, I've got all that joy to come now. Of the coughing and all that stuff to take place. Oh, the joys. With a big outsized gum as well. Because it feels like it's out there. It feels like I've got like an Indian kayak wedged sideways inside this cheek. And with my cheeks, I could probably fit one in there as well. But even they're shrinking down a bit because up until like yesterday, I really haven't been eating. I've been having bits of things and chewing on one side and not enjoying any of it. But kind of like last night, I began to chow down again. Because otherwise I was wasting away. Anyway, it's good stuff this, It ain't the best painkiller. Whiskey's by far better for that. What's that you're saying? Yeah, I have still gone out. That's how I found out that the COVID's so prevalent around here. I went into the cask the other day, and Lynn behind the bar was all extremely disgruntled because it wasn't her shift. Oh, I've got to come in because I've got COVID, hasn't she? And so's Rachel, and so. Oh, I've got to be here, haven't I? He speaks like that, speaks like a docker, and looks like a docker as well. But half the regulars have got it as well. Not just there, but in every pub around here. So it's sweeping through and really putting people on their backs. I hate being ill. I mean, does anyone actually enjoy it? No, they don't. Unless they're faking it to get a day off work, of course. in which case it comes in very handy. But no, it's just, you can't even sleep. You're knackered all the time, but you go to bed, you might snatch about, I don't know, maybe 5 minutes of really feverish, dream-laden sleep. And then you wake up and then that's it. For the rest of the night, tossing and turning, alternating between hot and cold, getting up for a drink of water. I mean, at my age, you're meant to get up to let the water come out, but I'm getting up to put the water in. Because you go dead dry and, oh, God, it's been hellish. So I couldn't even, I'll just do a video. And in fact, I did struggle to do one about, what day is it? It's now Sunday, but on Thursday, I got set up in the usual location. You may have noticed we have a slightly different perspective on things. There's a reason why it's done like this, and you will come into it now. I sit with all the system is here, the system that doesn't work, as we know, and I'm sort of sitting on an angle facing, the camera's always there, but I'm facing sort of on an angle towards it. But now I'm directly on it. And I set up, had everything, all stuff laid out, stuff in the background, just reached over to hit the record button, and then bloop on my head. Huh? What's that? Bloop. What? Oh, bloop. There was a leak through that ceiling above us right now. Yes, right where I sit. And it was coming through. Drip, 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 drip. Talk about Chinese water torture. Shit, where's that coming from? Legs it upstairs, even in my really unfit state, and discovered that the sink in the bathroom, the waste pipe, something had gone wrong there and it was leaking from that. Oh shit. So that means you can't use the sink. That's me with the taps on the sink. So I was dying for a shave as well, and I thought, I need a shave. Does that mean, can we use the bath? Does it connect up somewhere? Well, of course it connects up, but if the leak was there, but I still thought, I'm not going to chance the bath. Can we use the toilet? Can we flush? Oh my God, suddenly I wanted the biggest shit the world's ever known. And I thought, oh, what do I do? What do I do? I never used to panic about anything. It was always, look, we'll take care of it. One step at a time. We'll cross that bridge when we come to it. But this was just like, I'm dying. I can't do a video. The roof's going to come through. There's water everywhere. I'm dying for a piss and a shit. And I don't. Mrs. Kilt-Man said, don't worry. We've got the number for Home Serve. We've got a big policy with them. And we're up to date. So just phone them. So we did. And a great guy come round. And he did fix it. And it was sorted. But it took all day for him to come out. So even though it was billed as an emergency, and of course the taps on the bath, that was fine, and you could flush. That wasn't connected at all to the little problem that we had with the waste pipe from the sink. So that all got sorted. However, we've got to get that sort of replastered now. Great, but in the panic, we moved everything out, and I mean everything, in case the whole lot was going to come down. So all the PC and every bit of apparatus that I have, all the props and toys and figures and everything was gone. The worktop, which everything was sat upon, that was gone. The ring light was gone. Everything was just unceremoniously shifted out and held to abandon. So I then brought it back in like this, and Mrs. Kilt-Man said, it's amazing how big our kitchen is when you haven't got all your shite in here. Oh, right. So now you've proven your point. So he said, well, don't put it back the way it was. Why don't you try it a different way so you can keep moving it out? So we thought we'd do it like this. But you know what? I'm not liking it, folks. It may look all right, but I don't like it. I like to have, maybe I've got no stability. Everything's behind me. I was sort of stuff behind me and stuff in front of me. And no, I don't like it. It's too exposed. So with a bit of luck, the next video, everything will be swept back round to its normal angle and perspective on things. But yeah, it's not been a good few days, I hasten to add. But I'm not going to labour the point too much on that. But because hopefully, I'm up and about and I'm talking. I'm not coughing. The pain in the side of my head doesn't seem to be quite as intense as it has been, because I'm distracting myself, of course. But here's one for you. I've still been taking the dog out for a walk because, you know, unless I lose my legs altogether, in which case she'll just drag me out anyway. You still take Roxy out, and in the cemetery, and this would be Friday, and she was rummaging about in the bushes, and the weather was all right, but I felt cold. And when people see me wearing a jacket and I've got a hat on as well, it makes them feel cold, because normally I walk around like Sir Trev, you know, bare-chested, you know, exposed to the elements, because I don't care. That's why I'm so ill all the time. But I had multiple layers on, and people are going, oh God, if Kilt-Man's cold, it must be cold. But it actually wasn't. But she's rummaging around in the bushes, and I was like, oh, come on, Roxy, come out of there. Oh God, but there's all stuff in there. There's a lot of foraging in this particular neck of the woods, quite literally. And this voice next to me, just out the blue, suddenly said, it's a lovely dog, lovely looking dog. I went, oh, cheers. But this guy had suddenly come out of nowhere, literally just come out of nowhere. I mean, ex-commando, I'm meant to be a trained observer. I'm meant to be aware of everything around me in the vicinity that could be a threat. This guy just manifested himself like that. I mean, oh yeah, and I said the usual stuff when people say, oh, that she's gorgeous and all that. Oh, she spends hours putting her makeup on in the morning. You don't get her looking in the bathroom. Oh, she's always in front of the mirror. And he just said, yes, she's a lovely looking dog. I went, oh. And he'd gone. Oh, sorry, before he went, he actually said, right, goodbye then. And I looked round, and he'd gone. As soon as he arrived, materialised, he dematerialised. And I was like, I looked up the aisle. He didn't go past me that way. He hasn't gone into the bushes. There's a path behind as well. So it's like a junction where I was standing at. He hadn't gone up that way. And I was like, how the hell did he do it? Did he go, oh, it must have gone between the tombstones and cross one of the quadrants of the graves. But you'd see him, you know. How odd was that? But the thing is, it reminded me of another incident which didn't happen to me, but someone told me about it. Someone in the pub, and I don't know his name. Funnily enough, on the day when I found out that everyone had COVID and I was sitting in a cask, a bunch of ex-Wirralites had reconvened after many years, and they were loud, and they sat at the Wallaceans, the place I'm born and bred, and they sat sort of just over there, but they were really loud. But they kept saying things that I'd had a couple of whiskies by then, and I was like, oh, I'd add something in, yeah, like one of those people that you don't like butting in, but I was doing it. I've gone off on a tangent, haven't I? But we'll get back to it, don't you worry. But these guys were actually quite interesting. One of them, I mean, he said, oh, it's been many years since I've been back to Wallasey, but I said, well, you've been living in Australia? He said, oh, I've been living in America for the last 10 years. And prior to that, it was Canada, but I did live in Australia for a number of years as well. His accent was pure Australian. He said, but you'd never lost the Aussie accent, did you? He said, so you born and bred around here? Because he said, you've got a kilt on, but you don't sound very Scottish. So, of course, I elaborated and told a bit of the backstory. Oh, it's fascinating stuff, that, blah, blah, blah. He said, do you know so-and-so? I went, no. He said, do you know so-and-so? I said, no. Do you know, about a dozen names got reeled off. And I went, before you go any further, you could reel off 100 names. It doesn't mean I'm going to know who they are just because I'm born and bred around here. I said, most people in all the pubs around here know me, and I know them by sight and by voice. Doesn't mean I know their name. So I said, maybe I know half the people you just mentioned, but the name means nothing. And I've mentioned that because the guy that told me this story, which relates to what happened to me in the cemetery, I don't know his name either. He's just one of those guys in the pub. You go, all right, mate, you know. We got talking, and this is only recently, as in the last sort of couple of months or so. And he said, you walk the dog in the cemetery, don't you? I said, yeah, I do, yeah. And he goes, oh, I don't like that place. I said, oh, the cemetery's sound, there's nothing wrong with it. Nothing ever happens in there. He said, oh, the zombies don't always rise, you know. And he said, no. He said, because he works in town like I used to, and gets the bus and gets the 432, which goes down Seaview Road. The cemetery has Rake Lane, it's Rake Lane Cemetery, and the 433 bus comes up and down Rake Lane. The 432 comes the other way. And so the cemetery is sat in the middle, Rake Lane, and you've got Seaview Road there. And he got the 432, but he lives my side, so he had to get off the bus there, and he said, I walked through the cemetery, down the main path, which would take him from the Seaview Road entrance all the way through to the Rake Lane entrance, which is the main entrance. And he said, I was walking through, and it was still light. I think it was summertime, he said it happened. And as he's walking along the main path, and you've got trees lining that path on either side. And he said, there was a fella sitting at the base of a tree. And I went, oh, a little leprechaun, was he? No. No, all right. This fella was sitting there, like sort of on his haunches, but just relaxed. No threat or nothing like that. And but as this guy approached, this fella turned around and said, hello. That shouldn't sound mysterious in itself, but in actual fact it is, because around here no one says hello. It's always like, all right mate, all right, or just like, okay, you don't say hello politely like that. That doesn't happen. And but this guy said hello. So he went, all right, and he goes, just finished work, have you? And he looked at him and went, yeah, I have. I think there was a bit more of an exchange, which I don't remember what that was, but suddenly the guy that I was talking to said he began to walk away, and this guy said, well, goodbye then. But you don't say goodbye, you just like, see ya, or ta-da, laters. You don't even say hello or goodbye. So he turned around and looked again, and yeah, the guy sitting by the tree was no longer there. Now, this guy told me this, like I said, a couple of months ago, and I went, oh, what was he wearing? Was he wearing Victorian clothing and all that? Was there vapors and mist around him? He said, no. I said, I don't know what he was wearing. He didn't strike me as odd, apart from the fact that he was sitting in the base of a tree, and the way he spoke. I said, was he young or old? He said he was 30s-ish. I went, well, you sure he hadn't just got up and walked off? He said, it surprised me to the point where I stopped. I couldn't breathe for a second. I really thought this was something strange. So he looked down the path. It's still well lit. Couldn't see him at all. He hadn't overtaken him. He hadn't, like I thought about this guy crossing through the graves. He could see very well. If he was amongst the graves, you would see him. So he said, I walked back and I looked around the tree in case he'd moved to the other side of the tree. He weren't there. And he said, when I realised he was not there, he said, I felt chills, and I got out the cemetery. I said, but you didn't feel threatened, did you? Yeah, by anything he said. More things were said, but I don't know what they were. But I think this guy thought his manner of speech was very strange and weird. And I said, I hurried out, and I said, I don't go back there again. When the 432 comes, I'll wait till the 433 follows afterwards, so I can get off on Rake Lane. He said, I don't get off and walk through the cemetery anymore. That must have really freaked him out, mustn't it? Now, but I was reminded of that, because of this guy who said, lovely looking dog and all that, but he said goodbye and then vanished. And then I thought, well, can I describe this fella? And I can't. And he stood right beside me, just suddenly appeared, teleported there, and he was sort of my height as well, with sort of a short arse, so he could have been a leprechaun. He wasn't bald, he didn't have a cap on, he had hair, but I couldn't say what colour it was. But I got in my mind that it was a guy in his 30s, certainly younger than me, by a couple of years, maybe about 32. And but it was the goodbye, the polite, almost official goodbye, and then the disappearing act. Have I encountered the same fella? It is really odd, isn't it? I mean, look, people go, oh, shut up, Kilt-Man. You're having fevers, aren't you? You shouldn't be having painkillers and alcohol. Oh, shouldn't I? But if you're going to make something up, you'd make something a bit more interesting than that. the very fact that it's kind of mundane and banal actually adds, I think, to the mysterious quality, because maybe you're encountering these things all the time, these things, spectres, ghosts, memories, you know, manifestations of former events. But maybe every single day we're walking through this all the time. Half the people that you see on the street may not really be there. Maybe we're not really there. And of course, the guy that told me that story, I haven't seen him since that happened. That was only the other day though. But I'm gonna, when I do see him, I'm gonna say, oh my God, this happened to me now. Weirdly enough, that exact location where I had my encounter, if it is an encounter, it could have, maybe he just turned and ran. I don't know. But he said, you know, goodbye. And I kind of looked straight away, but he was gone. Goodbye. Was he just plucked up into wild blue yonder? But that exact location there, where the dog was rummaging, there's trees there, there's houses that back onto it. Now, I know the Kilt Mansion backs onto the cemetery, but we're not at that bit. They're much smaller abodes. We're big. The biggest. And so we're in a different area. But where these trees are, there's houses that back on, so you've got a boundary wall, then you've got an alleyway, then you've got those houses and their back gardens. So all these trees are there, but lots of overgrown shrubbery. And of course, the dogs love to prowl about in there. Now, a good number of years ago, our previous dog that lived in this house, Pepper, the great big German Shepherd, so big, I always term her as being prehistoric. She was lovely, she was super friendly, super gorgeous, but she looked amazing. What a specimen. Sadly, she's buried in the back garden here. And as I said before many times, she died in my arms just behind me through a massive fit and took me down. She was that big and died across my lap. But she used to forage there as well, and off the lead, and it wasn't pitch black, but it was dark evening time, and it's off the lead. And where that junction is that I described, you go up the path which was behind me during the incident with the fella. You go up the path there, and you come to the main drive. But the main drive has the Russian Orthodox Church smack bang in the centre of it, which I've done videos in the cemetery. I've walked you around all these bits before, and I may have mentioned some of these things. I definitely have done, I know. So you've seen that church, you've seen these paths, you've seen my dog, this dog, Roxy, rummaging around and playing about. But I was on the main drive, but me and the dog had turned to go down that path, which would take us directly to those bushes. And it's quite an extensive bit of foliage. It's not just a bush or two and a tree or two. There's about 20, 30 trees and tons of jungle. And graves that back into them as well, which have been overgrown with stuff. It's a very old cemetery. No one bothers to visit the people who are buried there. But anyway, so me and the dog are there, and suddenly the dog had run off, and I was like, okay. And I walked down the path slowly, about 25 yards away from all this foliage, and the foliage begins to start shaking, and I mean violently shaking. And I thought, what the hell has the dog got? I thought she'd got a squirrel or something. And I took a few more steps, and I was going, her name was Pepper. I said, Pepper, 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 come here, Pepper. It's a great name for a dog, that, because it sounds really good when he shouts it. Pepper, Pepper, no, Pepper, stop, Pepper, leave. But I was getting closer, and it was getting more violent. And I noticed as well that it was actually about 8, maybe 10 feet high up in the air, as though Bigfoot was going with the top branches. Stay away, you know. So I stopped like that. I thought, what the hell has she done? Now Pepper had actually climbed trees in the back. I know you're going, oh, what are you smoking? She used to chase squirrels, and many's the time that they'd shoot up the tree, but she's so determined, she'd leap up and she'd get a few feet up there. And you know, dogs aren't built for climbing trees, and she'd get so far up and then sort of go like a cartoon, Maggie, and then she'd have to slide back down again. So I thought, she jumped up the tree. So I'm getting a bit closer, but I'm also getting a bit, what I was in there is having a real mad tussle. And if she's fighting my dog, then I'm going to have to run away and call the I'm going to kill you. And I went, Pepper! And that's just my final shout of Pepper. I noticed that Pepper was stood rooted to the spot right beside me. She wasn't in the bushes at all. Begging the question, what was in the bushes? And the thing is, Pepper was sort of like that. One paw was raised, and she was like, right it, Dad, if you're going in there, I'm going in there as well. But if you want to bug out and run away, I'm running with you too. I mean, she'd go through the gates of hell for you. Of course she would. But she wasn't. She would normally have charged in there. Oh, what's going on in there? I must find out. I'm a big German Shepherd. You will bow down to me and my superiority. But she weren't going to go of her own accord. So the fact that she was just staring straight ahead. So I clipped her on the lead. And we, about 10, close ranks, retreat. We fucking ran. Not ashamed to admit that. I don't know what was in there. Now, the thing is, that cemetery, it's had its fair share of trouble over the last few decades. There's been vandalism and stuff taking place there. People have picnics in there, all sorts of things. It is genuinely, 95% of the time, perfectly safe and wonderful, especially if you're dead. But down and outs occasionally do move in there, and they find like a little spot with a tree and a hedge, and they get under the hedge. Hedges are great, you know, if you're sleeping in the wild, hedges are wonderful. They'll keep you dry and they'll keep you warm. And you've got a lot of company in there as well, because other things live in hedges too. See, they're desirable locations. So the homeless will go in there. And in that exact spot, I mean, not at that time that I knew of, but other times I've known there to be homeless people, or a homeless guy sets up his den for a few days, summertime usually, and but it's just their own little location. So I thought, maybe, and I still do, maybe it was some down and out who just, you know, was terrified, don't come near my stuff, and his own still of moonshine going or something like that. Why is the music gone off? Well, that's spooky. The music's turned itself off. Oh, God. So it could have been. But even then, the shaking of the tree, you know, you shake a tree and it moves the branches higher up. There's a possibility that that could have been the case. But the real violent stuff was actually the highest element, and it was rippling down. So that was where things were being shook from, like 8 to 10 feet up. I know you can reach up and all that, but hey, you know, another idea, maybe a lot of birds around here, and you know, pigeons. I mean, pigeons can be quite large when their wings unfurl, and we have gulls, seagulls, which are even bigger again. They're like pterodactyls. So if a couple of them were having a bit of a tizzy, you know, on a branch high up, that'd have been a mighty ruckus. We don't tend to get that sort of when it's dark, and this was reasonably dark. I don't know, folks. Answers on a postcard, please, if you will. I don't know why that's turned itself off. Play, you bastard. Yeah, I'm still using the another prehistoric term. I'm using an old CD player because I don't have the musical system at my disposal. Come on now. I'm playing the mesmerising Bernard Herrmann-esque score that Roque Banos did for Brad Anderson's The Machinist. Yes, after all that introduction, I forgot what the film was called. Oh, we're having fun here today, aren't we? It's a wonderful, queasy, eerie, weird, sinuous, ethereal score. The theremin is used in it extensively, the theremin. That crazy, weird old piece of electronica, vintage, prehistoric electronica, where you have a sort of like one of these shaped metal tubes, like them. You know, you try to get the little disc around it, that, oh, you know, go back and start again, like that. But you don't touch it at all. Once you switch it on, it's electromagnetic waves, sound waves, and you can manipulate it. Like say that was the tube. You wouldn't be touching this. This is gonna look really rude now, but you'd be manipulating the sound waves around it, and and it creates this wavering, beautifully sinister, but also hauntingly beautiful sound. Many films have used it, of course. Most famously, The Thing from Another World, 1951, from Dmitri Tiomkin, the composer. And same year, The Day the Air Stood Still, which was by Bernard Herrmann. That's a theremin there. It's a wonderful. If you don't know how to do it, you're not going to get that sound out of it. You'll get sound out of it, but it won't have any kind of that undulating, wafting quality. It'll just be discordant mess. But anyway, now we've got it working, I'm going to sign off. So what we covered: leaky pipes, COVID, theremins, encounters in the boneyard, and of course a big shout out to Sir Trev, the Marquis of Margate, and of course Prince Deano. You two are champions. Keep it going. I have actually got to take the dog out within the next half hour. And where am I going? Well, actually, I don't know, because the dog hasn't told me yet. But she will decide. When we go across the drawbridge, she breaks either left or right. That looks the other way round to you guys, I know, but if we go left, it means we're going into the boneyard via another entrance on Elston Road. Through a big park, and she'll meet her mates and she'll play there. Or it means if we're going left, it means we're going to the pub first. That's always a big bad mistake, that, but if that's what she wants to do, that's what happens. You do the dog walk, and then we go to the pub or pubs afterwards. That works, right? Because you've earned it then. If you go to the pub for like an hour or so, or a couple of pubs, and I'm throwing whiskies down my neck, and then you forget you're going for the walk, you could be out for another 2 hours. And once you've started drinking, you want to carry on drinking. You don't want to disrupt it and break it and go for the bloody walk. Yeah, I know what you're thinking. So all these encounters that you've had, Kilt-Man, would they be the dog walk that took place after you've been to the pub? Could be. You could be onto something there. And I told you guys about the orb in the cemetery. That was freakish. That was about, when was that? Was that about 4 years ago? 4 years ago, I think. I've done a video on that. I think it was called something like, I didn't think I'd scared easy, but ... Something like that anyway. If I find it, I'll put the link to it, because you'll get a big perspective on the cemetery from that as well. And as I say, I've done numerous videos actually in the boneyard, because it's very historical, it's very old, there's some very old parts, and we've got mausoleums in there and crypts. It is a truly fantastic place. Sadly, yeah, you can't get in there, it's full up. And it'd be bloody handy for me, that's it, just chuck us over the back wall, job done. You know, whatever dog you've got there will come and see me every night on the walk. Oh God. But yeah, folks, I have been Always Shall Be Kilt-Man. Please, in the meantime, in this what's going to happen next in between time, please keep it kilted, keep it Celtic. I've been disparaging over COVID many times, but man, this has knocked me. And the fact that it's not gone, it's only kind of got worse as the days went on. And okay, I've been yakketing on that. I haven't been coughing, and I don't feel too much wooziness yet. That will come later. But I'm not out the woods yet. I know that, and I'm still going to get the gum looked at. And there's the other thing. Mrs. Kilt-Man said to me, because now I've got a dentist. Yeah, the rarity. I've got a dentist, and she said, well, you can't go and see a dentist if you've got a bug or a head cold, because then in your gob you're going to be passing it on. You can't do that. Is that true? Is that true? Oh, the NHS is broken. And so they say, look, don't bottleneck at the... I will bottleneck if you don't mind. Cheers, y'all. Don't bottleneck at the A&E or your GP. Because your pharmacist, your chemist can look after you now. It started this year, I think January this year, 2024, they were given rights to, they could prescribe antibiotics themselves, and they could have a consultation room and have a look, you know, whatever. Oh, show them your rash. Oh, we can do this, we can do that. Instead of going to the GP, you go there first. So I went to the chemist, yeah, to have the gum looked at. And I said, you know, look, I'm not sure what it is because I can't see it. It's an abscess or it's an ulcer, but can you have a look, let me know, and also prescribe something for me. And of course, this guy could barely speak English. But he in a little room, he come in here, so I did, and I hooked me cheek, me gob out, like that. I said, can you see anything? And he said, I can barely see something white. And I thought, don't say it, but I wanted to say, well, that's more white than I can see in here. Hey! Very racially inappropriate, but true nonetheless. And then in completely unintelligible well, it wasn't English, don't know what he was speaking. He said, we can give you painkillers or... And I just went, what? Painkillers or... And I thought, I don't know what you're saying. And he said, go to your dentist. So all this thing about the chemist being, they're your first port of call. Oh, they're bloody well not, are they? They just pass the book on to someone else. Bloody great. Bloody great. So I'll try and phone the dentist and say, or try and make out there's nothing wrong with the rest of me. Just check this out. Just go on, have a look. Yeah, got an abscess, right? We can prescribe this. Right, take those for a week, you'll be fine. You'll be snogging again. I've got a feeling it's snogging that's got me in this position. Right, folks, I will be reviewing stuff again very shortly. And the last video I did, I just started up a new thing on the channel, the Monday Movie Madness, something like that. Episode 1 was done. And of course, what's looming? Another bloody Monday. So I'll have to get cracking and do something just for that episode alone. But hopefully we'll have a review of, well, Apartment 7A, although, God, this is the prequel to Rosemary's Baby. It dropped the other day, and I've heard really naff things about it. Plus, you know how it ends. It ends, well, if you've seen Rosemary's Baby, the girl that was there before throws herself off the 7th floor window and commits suicide to avoid having the devil's baby. But Rosemary, she has the baby. But that's early on, almost the very start of Rosemary's Baby, which will be the end of this movie. So you know the main character's final destination. But I've heard that her journey to get there in this movie is boring and bland and uneventful and really uninspiring and totally unnecessary. Like almost every fucking prequel going. God. I don't know. And also Hellboy, the Crooked Man. I'll be reviewing that very soon indeed. So, right, I'm definitely going now. So I'm going to see you all later. Mind how you go, and goodbye. It's a lovely looking dog.